Hi, everyone. Joniel Conley here. And some of you may have known me from the advisory board, from my work at McLaren, St. Joe's, University of Michigan, for my work in bullying at certain universities. I did my doctoral dissertation on bullying. But I am passionate about nurses. My job is to nurse nurses so that you can have joyful and happy and healthy lives. And I did my doctoral dissertation on bullying in the operating room, which was great, but I've come to the realization that bullying is a symptom, not the problem. So I took a look at 4 components. I took a look at compassion fatigue, burnout, moral injury, and stress, and came up with this new phase called COBUMS. But today, I only want to talk about the one aspect of that. I want to talk about compassion fatigue. This is a compassion fatigue, can you see it, assessment that we used to use at the advisory board. It's real easy questions. I'm going to give you a link to a more COBUMS test that brings all 4 of them. But let's just talk about some of these signs of compassion fatigue. Marked decline in work efficiency, meaning you have to work harder to get more done, or it seems like you're never caught up, or all of those things. More callous towards patients than in the past. I can say I've always told the story that when I was working in the emergency room that night, I told the guy to get his blankety blank butt on the blankety blank stretcher. It was time for me to take a look at my career choices and maybe take care of myself and my attitude. Again, that was before HCAP scores, but even then, it wasn't a good thing to do. Do you have signs of mental or physical breakdown during periods of crisis? Now, let's face it, it's a crisis of the hour. What's happening today? What are we doing today? What's a crisis of the hour? But do you find like that one hit the button? It's the it's the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm trying to get my camera straight now. This is my very first StreamYard, so I hope you'll be patient with me. Outbursts of anger with very little provocation, meaning the straw that broke the camel's back shows up all the time. It's like, holy moly, I can't take any more of this. Declining opinion of your role as a caregiver. We know that it's predicted that 800,000 nurses will leave the bedside, but how many are leaving the profession? I hope not you. I hope it's not you. So let's talk about the role of the caregiver. Treating patients like impersonal objects. Now, as an operating room nurse, it was easy for me to say, oh, we're doing a cabbage in room 8, or we're doing a appy in room 5. But they're people. They're real life people. So I'm going to challenge us to think about that one. Number 8 was always my favorite question. Developed a pressing desire to explore an entirely different profession. That goes back to, we know that nursing and healthcare has been tough for a lot of years, but the last few years has really taken its toll on all of us. 100,000 nurses have left the profession ever. Let's stop. Let's figure out how to stop that. Make nursing what it can be. The profession that we love and enjoy, and leaders. Some of this has to do with you too, your roles. You're suffering from compassion fatigue as well. Repeatedly failing to fill clinical obligations or responsibilities, just not getting stuff done. Those are visible signs. Now let's look at the invisible signs. A reduced sense of accomplishment. Like, what the hell am I doing this for, right? Harboring, this is directed at the OR nurses. Harboring a secret happiness when a procedure is canceled. We have always done the case. We have all done the case canceled happy dance in the lounge, right? Or we're just waiting and we're like bribing anesthesia. Not really, but avoid interactions with patients and colleagues. I'd rather just be by myself than deal with you people. Often leave work feeling ineffective. Like, there's not much more I could have done, but I did my best. Mood swings, resentment about your role, unhealthy attachments to patients, meaning when an untoward event occurs or somebody that you're really, really attached to. Poor patient outcomes adversely affect your job performance. And lastly, anxiety over dealing with emotional patients. So what do you think? What are the causes of it? Again, there's a lot of causes, but I'm just gonna read you a few of them. Exposure to traumatic events. Nursing is exposed to traumatic events on a regular basis. Overworking professionals in high stress. Let's just have an amen on that one. Lack of self-care. Now, again, self-care isn't the answer, but the lack of it can be part of the cause. Emotional exhaustion. You can only do so much. Emotional or trauma triggers. The last few years, I'm sure there's trauma. I was not at the bedside during COVID. I'm going to go on record as saying that. But I've had my fair share of traumas. I tell the story about when I was a young nurse and 2 young sisters were killed in a car accident. I have 2 sisters. They were just coming home from their one's wedding. And it, to this day, has a trauma trigger for me. Lack of support, the hero to zero. And again, I'm going to talk to bedside, not just bedside nursing, depending where you're working in the profession. Lack of support, empathy overload. I always say that if you stub your toe, I'm going to cry. Not a good thing for me, not a good thing for any of us, but I think we have to learn how to process that and to put it into perspective. It's important, again, as we walk through COBUMS, this is Nurses Week, and we can have some conversation of what this might look like. But tomorrow, I'll talk about burnout, and then we'll talk about moral injury, and then we'll talk about stress. But in the comment section of this broadcast, I will put a direct link where you can take the COBUMS quiz. I'll share that data at another time. But thank you for being with me. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk about burnout.